Joining us now is Marie-France Lalonde, Liberal MP for the riding of Orléans in the National Capital Region, and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defense. Madame Lalonde, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, Michael.
Now, we just heard your minister talk about the conclusions regarding the blast that hit the Gaza hospital, the conclusion based on the Intelligence Command of Canadian Forces as they did their own analysis of the evidence. I'm wondering, what exactly were they looking at? What evidence did they have access to come to this conclusion?
So, well, I want to say thank you to all of you and certainly to our Canadian Armed Force for their extraordinary work that's happening and, all throughout. Let's also say that, a terrible accident happened, and that was the loss of life of the explosion. I think all of us Canadians were very sad with the tragic explosion and the results of loss of life, children's, women who perished in this blast. From the very beginning, the Prime Minister of Canada asked Minister Blair to review, to go into in more depth, as you mentioned, and we were with a high degree of confidence based on the analysis and the review that Israel was not responsible. And that review was based on a collaboration with our allies, our partners, but also the evidence that came with, the hospital complex and everything surrounded of the evidence that was shown and demonstrated to our Canadian Armed Force, the intelligence branch.
And so shown to Canadian officials by Israeli officials, American officials, where exactly was the evidence coming from?
So the evidence came with a high degree that Israel, as I mentioned, was not responsible. The evidence was a partnership between the information that our intelligence were able to gather with our partners.
Okay, so I wonder then, why did it take so long for Canadian officials to reach a conclusion that the United States came to within 24 hours of the attack?
Well, I would say the Prime Minister was very clear from the very beginning, after the explosions, that we needed to better understand, to get the evidence, and that's exactly. And I would say actually the intelligence, the Canadian Armed Force worked very quickly and expeditiously, but with a degree of confidence that we can say that the explosion was not because of Israel, and that was very important for us. And actually, we shared this as soon as they became available, which was on Saturday. The Prime Minister was briefed, and Minister Blair made the statement.
But why the delay? Why did it take so much longer than, say, the Americans coming to that conclusion, or the British, or the French? Why did it take Canada so long?
Actually, we were very upfront from the very beginning about the explosion, that we needed to gather the evidence and collect the information, and that's exactly. I do want to thank our Canadian Armed Forces, the branch of the intelligence that worked very hard and I would say very quickly to help us understand and to share with a high degree of confidence that the blast was not the responsibility, the explosion was not the Israeli.
Were there any political considerations that may have delayed the conclusion? Given, for example, the many pro-Palestinian marches that we've seen in Canada, were there any political considerations that essentially delayed the process?
You know what? This is a conflict that's, when I think about October 7, thousands of lives were lost. When I understand what has happened at the hospital, this is a very sad time. And I think from a Canadian perspective, I was very happy to see this weekend Minister Joly and Minister Ahmed confirming an additional $50 million in support of the humanitarian corridor to provide assistance to the people in Gaza who need it most. So I want to say again, and I really want to say thanks to our Canadian Armed Force, who have worked extremely well and fast in delivering an analysis to the Prime Minister, and Minister Blair, as soon as it was available, came and shared that evaluation with all of you.
Now, your government is encouraging Canadians to get out of Lebanon right now, as there are commercial flights, as we've heard. But obviously not everyone will or can answer that call, be it financially or for whatever reason. DND was involved in getting Canadians out back in 2006 when Israel and Hezbollah got into a conflict. Is DND preparing for a similar mission now?
So the situation in Lebanon, we know how volatile, and I think Minister Joly has been very clear in asking those that are Canadian that they should come back to Canada as commercial flights are available. Minister Blair also, out of an abundance of cautious, did ask our Canadian Armed Force to position themselves in Beirut and in Cyprus. We are monitoring the situation, and we will be there for Canadians. Certainly, we are encouraging those that are in Lebanon to consider commercial flight to come home.
Marie-France Lalonde, thank you for the time this evening.
Thank you very much.